Welcome to the Brookings County Commission meeting, Tuesday, May 6, 2025. We'll start the meeting with the stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Item number 3 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 4 on the agenda is an invitation for a citizen scheduled time on the commission agenda for an item not listed. There's a 5-minute time limit per person. Anyone wanting to speak during this agenda item must sign in prior to the start of the meeting. No commission action will be taken during this agenda item. Any requested action item may be scheduled for a future meeting date. I don't believe we have anybody that signed in this morning. So move on to item number 5 is consent agenda items, which includes the minutes, travel and education requests, personnel action notices, cellular authorizations, and the human services report. We have a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Additions, corrections? Call the roll, please.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Hassler.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 6 is routine business. It's approval of the claims. Do I have a motion to approve the claims?
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments? Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Post.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Hassler.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item B, department head reports. Jacob?
Nothing to report this morning.
Marty from the Sheriff's Office?
Good morning.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Just a quick overview of the detention center. I just checked with the jail stats. This report was done yesterday. We got 2 additional, so there's 62 presently in jail right now. We have 17 from the U.S. Marshal Service, and the contract's for 10, but as long as I have room, I said I would take up to 20. And we did have 21 for a while, but they're trying to get some of their older ones that have been incarcerated for a period of time. They're trying to get them through courts and so forth. So we've been staying around that 17, 18 with the U.S. Marshal Service. The department's been busy with accidents. Yesterday we had a fatality. The troopers came and reconstructed the accident and then ended up taking the accident force. So they helped us out on that. We like to, on the fatalities, have reconstruction, do reconstruction. Fires have been another thing. Yesterday we had a big fire. I don't know, Kelly, I don't know if you were at that one or not, but that was a controlled burn that started and then it got out of hand and it burnt about a quarter of land, but most of it was grassland, so it didn't hurt any structures or anything. Also then, we've had a lot of deer accidents. Guys have been busy with deer accidents. So, and then we have, once it gets nice weather, we have the complaints on speeding and those things. So everybody's getting antsy for nice weather. We have 129 on the 24/7 program, 40 PBTs that come in twice a day, 8 remote breath tests. We have 9 on Scram, 48 UAs. We have 7 in drug court, 1 in Hope Court, 10 in DWI court. So that's about it, unless you guys have some questions.
How long is that drug court? Do you know how long that lasts?
Boy, I don't know, Dan may want to answer that.
Yeah, it's 18 to 24 months.
Huh,
Sometimes it can be longer.
yeah.
And drug court's pretty intense. I mean, they have a structured program and it has to goes up pillars, or I don't know exactly the right terminology, but they got to reach, and they're under the thumb of a court service officer that's all she basically does is drug court. I mean, you have one that's in charge, so she keeps track of them and makes them. Yeah, if they screw up, they got sanctions and stuff, so.
Yeah,
What
I've
they
had
got
some,
holding over their head is a penitentiary sentence, so that's kind of the incentive to pass that, so, anyway.
Would it be fair to say that drug court is what probation and parole should be across the state the whole time, and we wouldn't have a prison problem, or?
I think it would help. What do you think, Dan?
How much time you got?
That's what I'm saying.
I got a lot to say
We've
on
got
this
other
topic.
legislative bodies trying to study this, and it's, I don't know, to me, it just seems like such an obvious situation if we're not doing those jobs.
Well, part of the problem is if you were to treat parole and probation in that the violations that a person would have on those programs, you would fill up the prison very, very quickly. But right now, probation, parole, and drug court allow numerous violations before you're actually sent to the prison. So the political question and the question the voters would have to ask is, how long of a leash are we giving these individuals before we pull them back into prison? So to answer your question, we would need several prisons if they violated them on a much shorter leash than what they are now. So, I mean, there was one individual who had 70 violations while on drug court before termination. So, and that's one of, you know, that didn't happen in our drug court, but it happened in a different drug court in another part of the state. So that's sort of the policy discussion right now is how long do you let someone continue to violate before you send them to prison? And right now, those three programs are all sort of run the same in that there's several violations that occur. And sometimes I don't hear about it. Marty doesn't hear about it. It's just that individual and their parole agent or probation officer that hears about it, so, or knows about it.
And that's a dilemma for law enforcement, because they violate and nothing's actually done, you know? But, because
Mondale,
they're
and
short of space,
If you're doing a story on this, I'd have other comments too, so.
yeah. Make sure you get Dan's comments.
Yeah.
Good question, though.
thank you, Marty.
Okay, Lori from Finance? I have nothing today, thank you. Okay, Bob from Community Development?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
We had Pipeline Committee met last week in April, had good discussion. We're in the process now of reviewing the other county ordinances, and we're gonna meet again in June, and we expect there only be a couple meetings, maybe at least one more, maybe two more, and that committee will be able to be disbanded. I had vacation after the pipeline meeting. I went down to Omaha to International Association of Emergency Managers Board meeting. The president for my region was in an accident, so since I'm the past president, they had me come down to the board meeting. It was constructive. We do have the Homeland Security meeting was postponed earlier this year. It looks like it's gonna be later this month. Me and the sheriff typically goes to that and fight for however much money we can get from the Homeland Security. And we'll try to put a travel request in time, but if we can't, we'll put a late one in. We've got a PPCC pod meeting on this coming Thursday. That's gonna be on incident command system for the hospital system. And then on May 15th, I've got a local emergency planning committee meeting scheduled. The month of August is going to be Emergency Management Month. You may have realized there's some federal funding issues with the Federal Emergency Management Agency and grants and all that. And National Preparedness Month is always September, so the powers to be decided to make August, the month before National Preparedness Month, Emergency Management Month, and there'll be more stuff coming out on that. I do plan on being in Rapid City May 20 through 23 for the National Association of Counties Board meeting, and of course, the Western Interstate Region meeting for NACO's during that time frame. Any questions?
Any other question? Bob, we did have some questions on red flag warning, burn ban, et cetera. You know, we did have some rain, but by the end of the week here, it'll probably be dry again. Any recommendations on how to get the word out to the public when they're doing a burn or a controlled burn to make sure they call it in?
Well, you know, we've been pushing that message for over 20 years, that even on a controlled burn, on a non-burn ban deal, they need to call in and let the fire department at least know where the burn is, in case it, just like yesterday, in case it gets out of control, dispatch knows where to send them. When we have a red flag warning, our county ordinance automatically kicks in a burn ban. A lot of people don't realize that yet. We've been promoting that over the social media networks and the county website and things like that. So I guess I have no other suggestions on what to do. Typically, you know, I'm not a farmer, but from what I can understand, the mindset of a farmer, when they feel they have to burn, they're gonna burn and pay the consequences later, and oftentimes that's putting our firefighters at risk. So I don't know how to get that message out there any clearer than that.
Right, there is some programs, farm programs at Managing CRP. There's a certain date that it does need to be burned by. What ramifications or enforcement can be, how are they handled?
Well, anytime there's a violation of the true burn ban itself, then the sheriff's office does the investigation, sends the paperwork to the state's attorney's office, and then it goes that route. As far as the federal regulations, we have no control over those whatsoever.
Right. I believe also that if a burn would get out of hand and the fire department is on scene for extended amount of time, they can bill the landowner.
I am not a law type, so I do not know
Okay.
the answer to that. Once again, we would have to approach the state's attorney's office to get an opinion, and then he could give us an opinion at a later date,
Okay.
something like that.
But just somehow get the word out on making sure they call in dispatch to, no matter what they're doing.
I think what we'll do is at the next year's township meeting that we typically have at the BCOAC, that would be a good topic for emergency management. If we don't have any other emergency management topics come up, we can put that on the schedule to talk about.
Good.
It'd be a start at least.
Any other
Last thing
other
is-
comments?
Yesterday, we had an incident that the sheriff spoke about. Whenever I get called out I typically get called out for hazardous materials, and there was spillage yesterday. If a fire department's out there for multiple hours, we're talking 4, 5, 6 hours, typically I try to feed them if at all possible. And last night was a possible day, so you'll be seeing a claim come in the future on emergency response on that. So just to let you know, I never do that on my own. I'm not a lone ranger. I always have to go through my liaison to authorize an expenditure like that, but just letting the rest of the board know, some of you are rather new. So,
Okay.
thank you very much. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, we do have a scheduled 9 o'clock, but we'll move on to regular business. Action approve agreement number 25-42, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of county highway made by H&D Electric Cooperative in Lake Hendricks Township. Do I have motion approved?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Brian couldn't attend this morning. He did say that all these Following applications for occupancy right-of-way is overhead power being put underground. So that's all these occupancies are the right-of-way, so. Is there any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item B, action approve agreement number 25-43, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of county highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Argo and Lake Townships. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item C, action approve agreement number 25-44, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of county highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Sherman Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item D, action approve agreement number 25-45, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of county highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Oakwood Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item E, action to approve agreement number 25-46, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of county highways made by Sioux Valley Energy in Windsor Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item F, action to approve abatement number 25-13, an abatement application made by Cody Clifford for parcel number 312000-00200-005-00 in the amount of $861.38. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments?
Yeah, this abatement is related to a house that was on Main Street in Aurora City. The house had been previously condemned by the city, and the new owner of the property removed that structure in mid-April of '24. So the 861.38 is in relation to the taxes assessed to the structure from that date of demolition through the end of the year.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item G, action to automatically supplement for unanticipated expense incurred and reimbursement made to the Brookings County in the amount of $7,983.20 from general ledger line 201-4-311-4350 for reimbursement from a return check. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments?
This was just a refund to the highway department. I think, I'm not exactly sure what kind of transacted. There was a check that maybe didn't go to the right spot and got returned. So now we're just supplementing that back into the budget.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item H, action to approve retail on-off malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license for July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 for the following businesses. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. The businesses are Brookings Country Club, Cusman's LLC, ABR, Good Roots Farm and Gardens, K&K Enterprise, The Corner Gas and Goodies, Shade Vineyard Incorporated, Skyview Junction, LLC, SVK Properties, LLC, Midway Camp. Is there any other questions?
Just one comment, if I may. So all of these businesses, as stated, are renewing their malt beverage licenses. None of these businesses had any violations, so we don't require a public hearing for that. All of the businesses have paid their first half of real estate taxes, and they've also paid the $300 that's due. $150 stays with the county, and then $150 gets sent to the Department of Revenue. So that would be my only comment.
Okay, thank you. Marty, any concerns? Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item I, action to appoint Justin DeGroot as an alternate to the Brookings County Planning and Zoning Commission, filling an unexpired term ending December 31st, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item J, action approve a request to fill vacancy for an equipment mechanic in the Highway Department. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item K, action approve a request to fill vacancy for investigations sergeant in the sheriff's office. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item I, action to approve a request to fill vacancy for a full-time female correctional officer in the sheriff's office. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item M, action to approve a request to fill vacancy for a part-time female correctional officer in the sheriff's office. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item N, discussion on a resolution establishing an administrative fee for the implementation of a tax increment finance districts, so it would be a TIF district. This is discussion only. I'll have some input from fellow commissioners on, there's a suggestion for a fee, if not to have a fee, whatever. Commission will weigh in on what we should do here.
My comment would be, I feel that the commission should charge $3,000 one-time fee for TIFs. We're not here to make a bunch of money on this. The last thing we want to do is inhibit growth in the county. I think that's important that we note that's not what we're here for. But we just administratively, 3,000 probably isn't enough, but I feel that that's a starting point, and we just need to have a one-time fee, not a graduated type complicated thing. But I have visited with a couple developers, and they understood and respected that if a fee needed to be in place, that was understood. So those are my comments.
I think this has kind of gotten to be a little bit of more work than in the past, correct, Jacob and Lori? That I think we probably do need to implement something to offset those costs of staff. And that, of course, reiterate, it's not a money maker. It's not intended to be that, just to offset some time.
Doug?
Yeah, we don't want to be passing this expense, labor for the county, on to other taxpayers, and so.
Well, I kind of agree. There was ideas thrown out about a formula to calculate all the different fees, and some larger TIFs may be easier to do than some of the smaller ones. And I think we kind of thought we'd just charge a one-time fee is what we kind of want to go with for administrative costs. I think give direction to state's attorney and commission department to draft up a resolution to bring forward at our next meeting. Would that be fine? All right, let's move forward with it in that order then. We still have 5 minutes before our scheduled time. Commission Department Director, do you have a report?
I do have a report. It's a very short report, so maybe I talk slow, we can get us to 9 o'clock. I just wanted to make a note that we do have a 3-week break now between meetings. We had kind of scheduled that at the beginning of the year to allow for those attending the NACO Weir Western Interstate Region Convention out in Rapid City. So our next meeting will be May 27th. I'll make you aware of that. Some upcoming dates. We do have that conference out in Rapid City, the 20th through the 23rd of this month. I believe Commissioner Miller is going to attend, and I know County Development Director Bob Hill plans to attend that at this time. Monday, May 26th is Memorial Day, and offices will be closed on that Monday. And then to make sure you have this on your calendars, Wednesday, June 4th, budget hearings. It will be all day next door in the community room. We'll start at 8 o'clock and kind of go through some things. And then I think our first thing is maybe at 8:15 or 8:30, first department coming in. So make sure you have that on your calendar. And that's all I have.
Okay, any questions? Move on to State's Attorney's Office report.
Yeah, the Optimists this morning hosted their annual Respect Law Enforcement Day. Thank you, Commissioner Hostler, for attending that. We had a few other elected officials there, along with members from each of the law enforcement agencies here in Brookings County. Clyde Calhoun actually started this many years ago, where every year the Optimists award a recipient from either law enforcement or sometimes in the civilian realm too, just an award that recognizes their respect for law enforcement. So this year we awarded it to Detective Jeffrey Pullman from the Brookings Police Department. And then last year we weren't able to have an award ceremony, but last year we also, and then this morning we recognized a gentleman from Flandreau who assisted in the investigation and apprehension of Joseph Hoek, who was the individual who is alleged to have struck and killed Deputy Prorock from Moody County. So a good event this morning. And then lastly, this year I finished up my second year as president of the State's Attorneys Association. So that term ended and passed the reins off to the next one. So no longer as heavily involved in the association, but still plan to, be involved, but just not to that extent.
Okay. Thank you for the report. We have a few seconds here before 9 o'clock, and we can move into that. Going back in our agenda, item number 7 is a public hearing. Item A, a public hearing and action to approve a one-day special event license, J&A Diedrich LLC, DBA J Street Pub, wedding on May 24th, 2025 at Oakwood Lakes Lodge, the Owl Lodge, at 46075 204th Street, Bruce, South Dakota. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I would now open the public hearing for comments. Any proponents would like to speak to this item?
Yep, I'm Andrea Diedrich. I'm the owner of J&A Diedrich LLC, J Street Pub. We're bartending at a wedding at the Oakwood Lodge on the 24th. So we're looking to be able to serve them the requested items.
Okay. Any other proponents? Any other proponents? Any opponents? Any opponents who'd like to speak? Hearing none, I'd close the public hearing. Any comments from the board? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Miller,
Aye.
Hostler.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item B, a public hearing and an action to approve a retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license to Dakota Shores LLC, Amy Vanderweerd. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I now open the public meeting. Any proponents who would like to speak? Any proponents? Any opponents? Any opponents who would like to speak? I'll now close the public hearing and ask for any additional comments.
I can comment a little bit. I had said that Jenna had asked if Ms. Vanderweerd needed to appear. She's come to a couple meetings recently and appeared at public hearings, and I didn't think that it was necessary again for her to come. She is taking over the Wagon Wheel Resort. They're leasing that property, and they've been in the process of transferring all of the license over. I think she appeared at one of the last meetings for transfer of licenses. So this is just another one of those.
Okay.
Yep, I think she summed that up pretty good. I was just going to say at the last commission meeting, the board approved to transfer the two types of licenses that Wagon Wheel had to Dakota Shores. This is to renew that malt beverage license for another year. Just like you guys just approved all of those other businesses to renew their malt beverage for another year, this would be for Dakota Shores to do the same thing. We just scheduled a public hearing just because they're new and just to see if anybody had any other additional comments as proponents or opponents.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, call a roll, please.
Hostler.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Moving on to item number 11 is commissioner reports and discussion items. Commissioner Vanderwall.
Thank you. I regretfully missed the CO2 pipeline meeting. My day job duties been a busy couple weeks here. However, I was able to attend the 10-county meeting on April 23rd. I thought that was a good meeting. I'm glad we do that. And then on Sunday, April 27th, I went over to Aurora and had breakfast at the fireman feed over there in Aurora. I just want to visit about controlled burns. We've had a lot of them get called in. I just asked the public, Mondale, I just ask that we get it out there to think before we want to light a match to something these days. Our volunteer firemen are taken away from their day jobs to help do that stuff. And as in a small employer, we've got a couple firemen that have to leave their day job to go do that. And that's a tough one for businesses to let people go. But it is appreciated, but I just want to send that message out, think. My dad used to say to me, Kelly, you got to think before you do something. Remember that. And every now and then, I think we're in a situation here now where we're not going to meet for 3 weeks. So, if we wanted to put a burn ban in, we'd have to call a special meeting. I don't really want to do that. I just think the public needs to stop and think, is this really necessary? Is this really necessary? And I get it. We want to clean things up. We want to clean up that trashy looking pile of twigs and that kind of stuff. But we got to think about that. That's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Post?
Yes, on the 22nd, I attended the Pipeline Committee meeting, and on the 25th of April, I attended the Brookings County Lincoln Day. So and that was the extent of my activities. Other meetings were canceled.
Yeah. Commissioner Miller?
All right. On the 17th, I attended the Brookings Economic Development Corporation meeting. I was here in the building. 22nd, I went to Mitchell for the Heartland Summit that was put on by Senator Rounds. A lot of very interesting information there. The 23rd, I was at the 10-county meeting. 24th, the commissioner meeting here. 28th was at the hospital board. And on the 29th, the Brookings Economic Development Summit that was out at the Swiftel. And then that night, on the 29th, at the Brookings Fire Department feed.
Thank you. Mr. Osler?
Oh, how much time do we have? So, on the 16th, I attended the BEDC board meeting, and then on the 17th, we had the 17th, we had the stakeholder meeting here with some of the BEDC staff. On the 23rd, I attended the 10-county meeting, which was well attended, and of course some good food there as well. On the 24th, we had our domestic abuse shelter board meeting. We recently hired our executive director, so it was the first executive director with Bree that we had there. She's going to be a great fit for that. And then on the 24th, we also had that commission meeting here, a quick one. On the 29th, I attended the Brookings Economic Summit out at Dakota Bank Center. Kind of got some information about the marketplace, what companies and stuff are coming in, and they're looking for a lot more retail and possibly food providers and stuff in there. They've got a lot more area that they're going to be developing, which will be good for Brookings. Okay, where am I? So that night, attended the Brookings Fireman's Feed, which I think I talked to one of the firefighters this morning, and they said they had almost 2,000 years of experience that attended that. It was very well attended, and of course, the cook they had good steak there. They cooked it right. On the 2nd, attended the Economic Development Merger Committee meeting next door. That is wrapping up. All the information that committee is gathering can be found on their website, growtogetherbrookings.com. And then this morning, of course, attended the Optimist Respect for Law Enforcement breakfast, where they honored Detective Pullman for his years of service in law enforcement, and he is also a member of the South Dakota National Guard. So he wears many hats. And congratulations to Jeffrey. And I also want to make comment that next week is the National Law Enforcement Memorial Week. So. Thank you very much to all of the law enforcement officers on the sheriff's office, the police department, UPD, DCI, even Game and Fish for their efforts to keep us safe every day. And that is my report finally.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a pretty busy couple weeks. The 17th, I had an E911 council meeting, getting set up for our, I think our next meeting will be our budget discussion. On the 22nd, I believe, is when I attended the pipeline committee meeting for Commissioner Vanderwall. The 23rd, we had our Sioux Valley, or 10-county meeting, the Sioux Valley Commissioners. And on the 24th, they had our emergency commission meeting. On the 27th, I had also went over to Aurora and had breakfast in the Aurora Firemen. And on the 30th, I attended the Conservation District meeting. They are very busy. They've had a lot of acres to plant, and a lot of trees are coming in, and they're getting their help back, and so they'll start planting more and more trees. Looking forward to a tour. They're kind of setting up our annual tour for in August, I believe it is. Excited about that also. That ends my report. Item number 12, move on to executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, parentheses 1 and 4, personnel and contract negotiations. Do I have a motion to enter?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are in executive session.